In this video, we're back to the original series, our retro review of the Corbomite maneuver after this. Hello out there, I'm the oldest nerd, and in the Corbomite maneuver, this is a encounter with a alien species that the Enterprise has not seen or heard of before. They call themselves the First Federation, which is kind of interesting because the word Federation was not used in episodes previous to this. It was still every once in a while mentioned the United Earth Space Probe Agency, or USPA, sometimes just kind of under their breath in certain things. They identify themselves as the Earthship Enterprise rather than Starship. At any rate, the Pizarius, which is the huge ship about a mile wide, as they say in the dialogue, is apparently made to cause a certain amount of respect from anyone they encounter, despite the fact that we find later in the episode that the species that is in it is rather diminutive. And in fact, they are so aware of this that they have a puppet in order to make them look more threatening. So for a mile-wide ship, there's only one person on it, and he's played by Clint Howard when he was probably 7 years old, voice dubbed in over him, and not bad. Actually, it's an acting job for a child. It worked reasonably well, as much as they could sync the audio voiceover with the movement of his mouth. That seemed to work okay. They introduce us to Dave Bailey, never mentioned as Dave in the episode, but just in the credits. Bailey is someone who was the navigator, but apparently a little too emotional for his job, a little young for having been promoted so fast. This is something that McCoy points out to the captain, who disagrees with him. There's a lot of suspense in here as to whether the Enterprise is going to be destroyed by an overwhelming, more powerful order than they are. And there's a lot of place to show how brave and stoic all of the Enterprise crew is, except, I guess, for someone that would represent us, which is Bailey. What are you doing standing around here where you have, 2 minutes to die, and you're just standing here? You got to do something. You got to throw rocks at him or something. And was, of course, disciplined for that. Now, this is probably the last time we see in the first season Yeoman Rand. She, this time, was not the victim of anyone. She was just delivering a salad to the captain at one point and coffee to another, and shows her ability to improvise by using a hand phaser to heat it up with. That is a nice little line in there. Another good line was the doctor, who, not immediately telling the captain while he's going through a physical exam that a red alert has been sounded. The captain questions McCoy why he would do something like that, and as he leaves, McCoy says to himself, "If I jumped every time I see a light around here, I'd be talking to myself." I thought it was kind of funny. Also, in a couple of places where the captain quotes something that McCoy has said before in that episode that contradicts something that he was trying to say, McCoy said, "I never said that, and I never said that either." I kind of like that. There were a lot of people in the corridors, even during red alerts, when you would think that everybody should be at their battle stations. There were people in the halls so they could bounce from one wall to the other as the ship pitched. I thought that was, usually I kind of like the fact that they show more people on the ship, and this particular time it seemed just silly. We also have the sexist remark where the captain is not happy with a female yeoman. By this time, men and women are pretty much equal in status on this ship, except for their rank. And whether Yeoman Rand was a female or not shouldn't have mattered by the 23rd century. But in the 60s, when it was filmed, that was not an unusual statement to make. One thing that bothered me about this was the name of the commander of the alien ship, which is Balok. Now, some people pronounced it Balok, some people pronounced it Balak, some pronounced it Belloc. which is to say they read the script and pronounced it any way they wanted to, instead of having any kind of direction saying, this is how you should all say it. Because it's not like they heard somebody else say it, it's like they read it. And that, of course, is not what happened in the episode. That's what happened to the actors. And that's not the first time or the last time that has happened in this series, where they tend to pronounce the names of aliens however they individually want to. And that's kind of a weakness that was in the original series that thankfully I didn't see much in subsequent Star Trek series. We're introduced to Tranya, which by the reaction of the people who drank it was really good stuff, and it was never mentioned again. That's what we have there for the Corbomite maneuver. It was one of the first episodes where they show the captain thinking strategically. Rather than being an action figure, he was able to outsmart the other side, even though the other side really wasn't that threatening, but just more testing. But still, it shows his analytic mind, something that was never really shown too much in other episodes, that he was mostly someone who was quick to run into a situation, to break the rules, to blast regulations, lead with his fists. But only in a couple of occasions do they show that he is able to best Spock in thinking. The three-dimensional chess games where it's mentioned that he always beats Spock. And the things like they show this time, where Spock thinks that it is checkmate, and yet the captain says, well, you're playing the wrong game. So that is this episode. Next episode is the Menagerie. We'll probably do both parts of it next time, so we'll talk about that, how they were able to incorporate the original pilot into a episode or two in order for them to catch up with the special effects and other things they needed to do on shows that were already in the pipeline. I'd like to know what you think about this, though, and please do subscribe while you're thinking about it, and leave your comments below, and we will read them and respond to those that we can. So thank you for joining us, and until next time, don't go far.